Social Studies 9, what's up? Hope everybody's doing good. I'm going to crank through just a quick video today. Kind of come pretty quick to finishing up chapter 3. It's just flying by. So we'll crank through this today, just a couple quick slides today, and then we'll move on. All right, so let's get going. So we're going to talk today about how does the Charter of Rights and Freedoms affect the workplace. And this can mean any workplace. This can be mine, this can mean yours, your parents, whatever, right? We are all protected in our workplace by the Charter. It is meant to protect every aspect of our lives, including, or unfortunately, we spend way too much of it at work. Now, I'm sure if you think hard enough or ask around, you can think of an instance where either you or someone you know was unfairly treated at work. Could the Charter help them? So whether that be being discriminated against because of gender or race or sex, or whether that be, being paid unfairly, whether that be being asked to do something you're not contractually obligated to do, being forced to work in unsafe environments. There's tons of reasons out there, right? But what we also know is that the Charter is there to protect us. So, a couple examples we're going to talk about. So in 2001, which is so long ago now, which is so crazy, 4 Ontario women and 5 labor unions launched a charter challenge arguing that they were being discriminated against based on their gender. Essentially, they were doing the same job as men, but being paid less, right? So Ontario law required that men and women be paid the same for the same job, same wage, if they had equal levels of training and experience. The women in this lawsuit said the province had to follow through and that they were owed millions on lost wages. Case went to the Supreme Court. Women won their suit, and the Ontario government had to pay $414 million to equity payments, right? And really, if you think about this, it's pretty crazy to think about. If you've got a man and a woman doing the exact same jobs, the exact same qualifications, the exact same experience, that one would be paid less simply because female. It's crazy to think about now, but this was a thing, right? And this is why we have the Charter here, to protect us from things like this, because this, I'm sure, still happens today somewhere. Now, there are a couple examples I need you to read up on. The first one is on page 113. This is Mary Kelly. She was one of the 4 women that were part of this lawsuit against the Ontario government. So you can read about a first-hand account from her at the very bottom of page 113. It's less than a page. So give that a read, just kind of understand her perspective on the lawsuit. What stands out to me when I read this is obviously it was worth it, right, to see men and women paid the same. But it's interesting is how she's really disappointed because of how little news press it got. Whenever you think about it, that is pretty disappointing, right? Something as significant as this, you'd hope would get some more news press. And the next one is on page 115. This is about Professor Olive Dickinson. So I want you to pause the video for a second. I want you to read that and then come back and I'm going to talk about it with you. So pause. Welcome back. So as you know from your reading, Professor Olive Dickinson was a university professor at the University of Alberta. Now, the University of Alberta tried to force her to retire at age 65. She signed that contract that said she'd retire. That was part of her contract with the University of Alberta. But when age 65 came, she didn't want to, and she challenged a charter challenge because the Charter enables everyone to equal protection and equal benefit of the law without discrimination. She argued that the university was discriminating against her because of her age. Now, this one gets a little more dicey, right? She signed a contract that said she'd retire by this age. She decided she wanted to keep working, but this was her contract. It kind of gets a little dicey here, right? She originally agreed to this, and now she doesn't want to anymore, but the Charter protects her from that. So even though she had this contract, the Charter is the higher power, right? So she won her challenge, I believe. Oh, no, I lied. She didn't. I had to reread, my fault. So the Supreme Court disagreed with her because, again, she had signed that contract. So should she have been allowed to keep working based on the Charter? It's tough to say, right? I think you got to think of this from another point of view, too. Think about even just today in teaching. We're all teaching online now since this COVID crisis. I know for a fact that, like I told you guys before, my wife teaches in Edmonton. And there are a lot of teachers in Edmonton that are over the age of 65 and don't know how to use Google and don't know how to use YouTube and don't know how to use iPads. And they're still using videotapes and writing on the screens and still using the same book and photocopies that they've been using for 20 some years. And now all of a sudden they're expected to teach online. You can imagine how that's going. So should someone be able to, should you be able to force someone to retire once they become too old and essentially can't keep up anymore? Or should they be able to be protected under the charter? So should it be easy or difficult to issue a charter challenge? And is the charter effective when it comes to protecting the individual rights of Canadians? Right? Should Professor Dickinson have been allowed to keep working? Did the university have every right to say, no, you're retiring? Should Edmonton Public be able to say, you know what, like, it's a different world now than it was 25 years ago. You're eligible to retire, you need to retire. Or should she be allowed to keep working? Tough questions to ask. And there is no right answer. And that's the thing I need you to get. There is no right answer here. And that's why we have the charter, so it can protect us. So, some questions to think about. What jobs are young people legally allowed to hold in Alberta? So what jobs can you hold? And are there any rules that are set especially for you? There are, right? You're not allowed to work as a person under the age of 16 past a certain time. I can't remember off the top of my head. There are certain jobs that you're not allowed to have. But should these rules be in place? Do these rules violate your right to work in any way? Do we maybe need to put them aside, right? Maybe now in COVID, maybe now you're the only one working in your house. Who's the government to say you can't work past a certain time if you're the only person bringing in money? What workplace issues, might you encounter as a server in a restaurant? How might the charter protect you, right? Maybe, you have to do something that's dangerous. Maybe you're not getting proper safety equipment. Maybe they're asking you to stay late. Maybe you're getting treated unfairly based on your age, right? These are all things that I know you might not think matter now, but they will. At some point, each and every one of you is going to feel like on your job that you're being treated unfairly. And that's why we have these things. That's why the charter is there, okay? So again, just a quick one today. Really make sure you give those readings a go. Think about how can the charter protect you if you're working, right? Many of you probably have jobs. If you don't have one yet, I imagine you're going to want one soon, and you're eventually going to get one. So how can the charter protect you? From what can it protect you from? And yeah, that's it. So again, if you have any questions, hit me up on the Google Classroom, send me an email. Peace.